G'day everyone, my name's Cautious Pancake, and today we're going to take a crack at making a horde base where the zombies are slowed down so much they never get to me before the end of Horde Night. Now way back in Alpha 20, I first tried to build a base along these lines and discovered that the maximum path length that a zombie will follow is 2048 blocks. Once the path gets beyond that length, the zombies won't be able to follow it anymore, and I demonstrated that in this 6,000 foot horde base. It was a gigantic structure that was as close to the maximum path length as I could get, but unfortunately this did not stop the zombies from getting to me, so we had to put in a zombie dropper and force them to loop. For today's video, I want to go one step further, and without putting in any elements that are designed to push the zombies off the path, then drop them back down to the ground or start any other sort of loop mechanics, I want to build a base with one single path that is effective at slowing the zombies down so much that they never make it through. To get started with this, we need to start with some testing to see what the slowest single path mechanics are that we can think of. Here I've set up a quick testing rig to look for a few options for zombies to cover 10 blocks up and 10 blocks along. The basic block stairway, a 45-degree ramp, which is the same as stairs, a ladder followed by a standard 10-block path, and the same ladder but with water suspended over the path using the facade trick that I previously used to suspend water. First up, with the block stairway, you can see that the zombie comes up pretty slowly. Each jump holds them up a fair bit, and it's actually quite a slow way for the zombies to pass through. So this is looking like a pretty good option for us to try. We'll just need to compare it to the other options. The ramp? Well, that was over pretty quickly. Bit of a bust. Don't think that one's going to be very good. Let's try the ladder. Ladder's not too bad. After the zombie works out which way is supposed to be going, gets up it fairly well and cruises along the path. And lastly, the ladder with a water path functions much the same with the zombie not knowing which way to go. But after that, gets up and is slowed down a little bit by the water, but not a huge amount. So looking at the results, if a block stairway is the slowest way up for zombies, and much better than say just a path with water, then that's a good starting point for our base design. I also want to point out here that it was a change in Alpha 21 that makes this possible. In Alpha 20, it used to be that zombies jumping up a block staircase like this would sometimes stumble and fall off to the side. But in Alpha 21 they changed this, and the zombies never fall off to the side anymore, at least by themselves when climbing. They can sometimes be pushed off and sometimes get the path wrong and fall off, but never by accident anymore. If you want more background on how that happened, check out this other video that I did back in Alpha 21. That covers what the change was back then. Anyway, from there I've been working on a variety of prototypes for the base, and frankly I'm not sold on any of them completely. The reason is that I realised while going up is fairly easy, this can't continue forever, at least not long enough to stop the zombies from getting to you, given the current build height limit of around 200 blocks. So that means after doing a whole bunch of building upwards using a block stairway, we have to either go flat or back down again. Down is obviously preferred since it allows us to go back up again. The problem with down is that for zombies it's much faster than going up. You can see that the block staircase going down is much faster than going up. The zombies can just sort of skip across the top and whip down. So after much testing and fiddling with options, what I've settled on is an approach that is a 2-to-1 block ratio for going down, so that the zombies fall into a little bucket area and then have to jump up and over to get down to the next bucket. This works pretty well to keep the zombies slowly moving down while at the same time slowing them up as much as possible. The main downside I found with this is that sometimes zombies will want to jump off sideways due to some weird pathing behaviour, so it also needs some additional walls on the side to prevent them from doing that. Now that we have those principles in place, you might just wonder what sort of base you would need to build to stop zombies getting all the way to you, and I would say it looks something like this. Jamming as much base into as small an area as possible, this base is one continuous stairway up and down that should prevent a 64 zombie horde on default settings from getting to you. Of course, I don't expect you to take my word for it, so let's test it. Okay, here we go. Horde Night's up. Where the zombies going to come from? There we go. They're making their way up straight away. Be nice if they came in from this side so that we got a little bit of extra bonus time for the Horde Night, but not to be. Now we could obviously take some pot shots if we wanted to. My aim is not that good, frankly. And I don't really want to set the cop off. I think he was about to blow up then, but we did take care of him. The rest of them, they can just hop straight the way up to the top and down the other side. I'm going to detach the camera now so that we can see what's going on. You can see here they run, fall down into the bucket, jump down over the top. And for the most part it's fairly smooth. Every now and then they hop up on the side railings, which is keeping them at least inside. Going to keep an eye on see whether Bo remains the one out in front. Every now and then, oh, somebody's fallen off. Feral Arlene was in a hurry. Just at the end there. That does tend to happen when one zombie's faster than the ones in front. They push up against them and slide off to the side. But once these guys get themselves all sorted out and in a nice little sequence, it should be fairly straightforward. Every now and then they'll also run over the top of each other, get a bit of a speed boost through running over the zombie in front's head and down the other side. But they sort themselves out again once they come up this side. You can see there's a little bit of a jam going on here. That Arlene might push on the one in front and fall off, but hopefully not. So let's just watch the zombies now for a little while as they make their way up and down and see how they go. Okay, Bo starting just on the fourth one there. So we've done 1, 2, 3. It's heading up the fourth row. We're only an hour in, so looks like about an hour for each 3 of these ladders, for want of a better term. So then that would be 1, 2, 3, that'll be midnight. 1, 2, 3, 1 a.m. 1, 2, 3, 2 a.m. 1, 2, 3, 3 a.m. and we're short by about 1.5 pillars, so we'll see how we go in terms of making it the whole Horde Night. We might just be a little bit short. The leader seems to have changed now. No longer Bo. Where are we at? Just past midnight. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. He seems to have taken a massive lead on everybody. I wonder if he's stumbled at some point and fallen across from one to the next. So I think actually there's Bo, our leader, on the normal run. This guy seems to have slipped sideways and managed to fail upwards, so to speak, and end up way ahead of everybody else, and way ahead of where he really should be in terms of timing. That's where Bo the leader is, who's much more on schedule. Hopefully whoever it was that failed forward a little bit can also fail backwards at some point. We're not trying to build loops here, but as you can see through the spread of zombies right back to the start, some of them are falling off from time to time, which was never the intent. That's kind of why they're built so close to each other, but obviously can't be touching, otherwise they'd take a shortcut every time. So there we go, we're about halfway through Horde Night. And the zombies are, apart from the outlier one, pretty much halfway through. So we're looking good. Kind of like a shooting gallery from the side here. You know, the sideshow alley games that you get at carnivals and fairs. Feels like one of them where they pop up just over the top here and you've got to take a shot at a sideways moving target. I'm not going to do that because that's going to mess with the challenge to see how far they get through, but it would be a fun little challenging way to practice your aim. I'd certainly struggle a little bit, I suspect. And he just bloody well jumped straight over the side. So despite the fact, oh, that's the one gap. So you can see those gaps where the railings cross each other. They're the real weak points in this design. You can't quite get, as you can see, you can't get railings on both sides of this trench just because they're so close to each other. If you move them further away, you can obviously put more railings in, but the downside in then is the base becomes a lot more elongated, and you tend to then start to have problems with the pathing because the zombies don't want to run, particularly if they say come in from this end, they don't want to run all the way around the base. It's already a fairly long base as it is. If you make it wider again, then they really struggle to find that path. So I've squished it in as much as possible to make it compact, but that does leave a couple of gaps in there for the zombies to fall down. Of course, if you wanted to fight them, you could just, move forward a certain amount. You'd then have the occasional zombie get to you. It'd be very, very light, if you know what I mean. From a fighting point of view, you'd even just be able to get away with melee, I suspect, because the zombies have spread out so far. Any new ones still have to join the end of the queue. After you kill a zombie, of course, you're going to get more respawns, and they're going to come back and take, 3/4 of the Horde Night to get to you, which is, after about the first hour, just not going to happen. So if you wanted to turn this into a combat base, you'd probably want to halve it or more. You could probably even just get away with, the first 3 rows, which we know takes about an hour for them to traverse in game time. So you'd have an hour break at the beginning of Horde Night with, at least an hour to continue at the end of Horde Night, unless you just jumped in a vehicle and rode away. And we've got Bo coming up, who's going to come up the top here at about 3 o'clock with 1, 2, 3 to go. That's going to be pretty much right on the money. Oh, don't fall off, dude. Oh, you can see how they struggle with that pathing sometimes. And even with that massive stumble there, you see how they don't fall off on a stumble anymore. That's that stumble nerf I was talking about at the beginning of the video that we covered in Alpha 21. Now, it doesn't matter when they stumble. They can't kind of fall off from there. It's only when they deliberately jump off that you have problems with the pathing. And here they come. We're up the last set of block stairs. There we go. A little bit of rage mode from him. With 4 minutes to go. I think we're just going to do it. And there we go. Horde mode survived with no zombies having made it to us. Lovely. And just for giggles, I've also turned on a day 7000 Horde just to see what things look like when you've got not the just normal zombies at the beginning. So obviously you've got more ferals, lots of rads already. I'm interested to see if we get a dire wolf. We might not. Oh, we've got a vulture coming in. I guess we better go take care of him. So as you can see, base works exactly the same, except for this rad. They're running a little bit unusual path. Not sure where they're going. Hopefully they'll figure out the proper pathing again in a minute and head back down. It could just be a bit of a logjam at the beginning. They get a little bit confused because they can't get up the stairs, run away for a bit and then come back, so that's good. As you can see, someone's already sort of jumped the queue a massive amount by sneaking over here. Some of them are falling off when they get too close to each other and push. The vast majority of them are way back here. This is kind of the start of the real queue. So again, some of them just kind of fail forward, get pushed off at some point, and end up way ahead of the game. So there you go, a horde base that's designed to slow the zombies down as much as possible and can even prevent them from getting to you the entire length of a normal Horde Night. Obviously not a practical combat base, the building effort is way more than you really want to go to, and there's easier ways to build AFK bases, but it's one of those bases that I've always wanted to try just to see if it was possible to do. Thanks to my awesome supporters on Patreon for helping support the channel, thanks to you for watching this video, and as always, happy building.